Hello, I am Faja Asifullah from Government Degree College, Palakkama, Hyderabad. Today, I will deliver a lecture from BSc second semester on theory of quantitative analysis in chemistry. In that, we will take the topic volumetric analysis. First, methods employed in quantitative chemical analysis are generally divided into two classes. Number one is volumetric analysis, and the other one is gravimetric analysis. First, what is volumetric analysis? The titration is involved in this, and titrimetry relies on methods involving accurate measurements of volumes of liquid. In other words, titration is nothing but addition of one solution to the other in small quantities. One solution is taken in large quantity, maybe it is 20 ml or 10 ml. The other solution is added to it drop by drop. Second thing, of these two solutions, one is a standard solution, the other is not. Means concentration of one of the solution is known to us, is called standard solution. The other is the solution whose concentration is not known to us. And here the measurements of these liquids is in volumes. Next is essential conditions for accurate titrimetry. When we do experiment, there should be accuracy. And how accurate results we get, it depends on the following conditions in volumetric analysis. Number one, equation governing the reaction must be known. As I told you just now, there are two solutions, means in two different solutions, two different solutes are present. And there will be a reaction between these two solutes. Let us take the reaction between the solution of HCl and the solution of sodium hydroxide. Then we should know the reaction, how it is taking place, and we should be able to write the balanced equation for that. For example, if it is between HCl and NaOH, that is between an acid and a base, then the reaction is known as acid-base reaction, and the equation we can write it as HCl plus NaOH gives rise to NaCl plus H2O. It is a balanced equation. Now, this we should know before we do experiment, because it is in volumes, and we can also note down the number of moles of reactants, means number of moles of HCl as well as number of moles of NaOH here. Second condition is the reaction must complete and there must be no side reaction. The reaction which we are taking should be complete, means it should complete during the titration. It should not be an incomplete reaction. And in this, one more point is there. What is that? There should be no side reaction. Third one, completion of reaction must be indicated using a substance known as an indicator. As you know, most of the solutions are colorless. Sometimes we will be having colored solutions also, but here in this case or in this example which we have taken, in which acid HCl is reacting with base NaOH, that is hydrochloric acid is giving colorless solution, sodium hydroxide is also giving colorless solution. Then how comes we know about the end of the reaction or the completion of reaction or end point or end? For that we have to add a foreign substance which can indicate the end of the reaction or end point. It is called as an indicator. So an indicator indicates the end of the reaction or completion of the reaction. Okay. Next, our fourth point is the strength of or concentration of standard solution must not alter. During the reaction, there should be no change in concentration of the solution, or sometimes it is also called as strength of the solution. So concentration of solution should not change during the reaction. Now, coming to the point that quantitative analysis. What is quantitative analysis? In this analysis, we calculate the mass of the solute present in the solution. Means the mass of solute present in its solution which is supplied to you. Sometimes this solution supplied is also called as sample. Let us consider in the case of HCl versus NaOH titration. HCl is standard solution, means we know the amount of HCl dissolved in the given volume of the solution. But NaOH, its concentration is unknown. So the solution of NaOH is of unknown concentration. It's our duty now to calculate the concentration of NaOH. Then we can calculate the amount or quantity of that NaOH which is present or dissolved in the given volume of the solution of NaOH. This is called quantitative analysis. Okay, here NaOH is called analyte. NaOH is called analyte. We know the analyte. Sometimes we may not be knowing the analyte. In that case, first we have to know or identify the analyte or the solute present in the solution. Then we have to proceed. But here it is known to us. What is known to us? The solute or the analyte present in the given solution. Now, because we are calculating the solute weight or mass of the solute, therefore it is called quantitative analysis. Now, its classification. Depending upon type of reaction taking place during the titration, tithymetric reactions are classified into four types. So the classification of tithymetric reaction depends on the reaction type which is taking place during the titration. What type of reaction is going on, and the reactions which may be going on during the tithymetric reactions or volumetric analysis are called neutralization or redox or complexometric or precipitation reaction. Therefore, we have four types of reactions here. First one is neutralization reaction. It is also called as acid-base reaction. What are neutralization reactions? You know what is neutralization. When an acid reacts with a base to give a salt and water, it is called neutralization reaction. Some energy also evolves during the reaction, and that energy is called heat of neutralization. So remember, acid-base reactions are called neutralization reactions. Next, we have taken one example, HCl plus NaOH. It is acid-base reaction or neutralization reaction. Acid neutralizes base or base neutralizes acid, whatever it may be. It is for neutralization reaction. Now the redox reaction, second type of tithymetric or volumetric reactions are called redox reaction. And you know the redox reaction is combination or sum total of oxidation reaction and reduction reaction. Hence, it is also called as oxidation reduction reaction. A reaction between potassium permanganate and oxalic acid may be taken here as an example of redox reaction. It oxidizes. Similarly, there may be many such type of reactions or compounds or solutes. So wherever or whenever oxidation and reduction reactions take place during the titration, it is called redox reaction. Third one is complexometric titration or complexometric reactions. In this or during the titration, a complex is formed. Therefore, it is also called as complex formation reaction. For example, if we are calculating hardness of water due to presence of salts of calcium or magnesium, then we calculate the amount or quantity of calcium present in the given water, a given volume of water. Similarly, we can calculate magnesium or both. Then we use EDTA for magnesium. It forms complex. Therefore, we get complex formation reaction, or it is called complex formation or complexometric reaction. Next is precipitation reactions. Here in this, precipitate is formed during the reaction. It will be a bit difficult. So if during the reaction precipitate is formed when one solution is titrated against other, these are called precipitation reaction. Now coming to the definitions of various terms which are used in volumetric analysis or during titration. You know, You have to remember the terms. Therefore, we should know the definition. Here, there may be titrant, titrate, indicator, endpoint, equivalence point, and so on. So let us take first titration. What is the titration? It is the process of adding the solution from burette to another solution taken in a conical flask in order to complete the reaction. You know, when we do volumetric analysis, we take two solutions. As I told you just now, one of the solution is a standard one, means its concentration is known to us. The other is solution of unknown concentration. We will be adding one solution to another, drop by drop. One of the solution is taken in bulk quantity in conical flask, and with the help of pipette, it will be transferred. The other will be taken in burette. The solution taken in burette will be added drop by drop. So the process of addition of this solution to another is called titration. And you know, during the titration, we shake the solution so that the reaction is completed between two compounds or two substances or two solutes present in two different solutions. Next is titrant. It is nothing but the reagent present in the form of solution of known concentration. Whereas titrate, it is the substance present in solution of unknown concentration. Titrant and titrate both are solutions. As we know, two solutions are taken. One of these two is called titrant and the other is called titrate. What is titrant? The solution whose concentration is known or a standard solution. The other one is a solution of unknown concentration. It is called titrate. For example, if we take 0.1 m HCl, it will be titrant, and 0.05 m Na2CO3, then it is called titrate. Next is indicator. It indicates the completion of reaction. An indicator is a substance which is added to the solution which is taken in conical flask, not in the burette. We will take the solution in conical flask. Into that solution, we add the indicator. What this foreign substance do? It indicates the completion of reaction. How? It changes color. The color of indicator will be one color in one solution, the other in other solution it exhibits another color. So due to color change, it indicates the completion of reaction. Next is equivalence point. It is the stage at which the reaction is just completed. What is equivalence point? Equivalence point is nothing but the stage where the reaction is just completed. Means beyond that we should not proceed. We have to stop at that point. At that point we should stop the reaction. That is called equivalence point. How it will be known? If two colorless solutions are there, it is difficult for us to indicate that or to know that. So we use indicator. Indicator indicates that point. Okay, an indicator may be foreign substance or the same substance. One colored solution is there, then the color decolorizes or changes. So whether it is internal or external indicator, in both the cases, the color change is observed, and that is called endpoint. So here there are 2 points, equivalence point and endpoint. Endpoint is the point where color of the indicate solution due to indicator changes. If color solution is there, then it is called self indicator, and our internal indicator then also color changes, indicating the completion of reaction. Next is the standard solution. What is a standard solution? I told you earlier also. A solution of known concentration is called as standard solution. Just 2 minutes back, I told you 0.1 m HCl. HCl 0.1 m means its concentration is known to us. It is decimolar solution of HCl. 0.1 means 1 by 10. So 1 by 10 means 1 out of 10 means decimolar solution of HCl. Similarly, I told you 0.05 m Na2CO3. So these solutions are called standard solution. So a solution of known concentration is called as standard solution. We can express this concentration in different ways. We will come to it later. Before going into that detail, we have some errors during the titration. What are errors? Mistakes may be due to human or due to instrument or due to conditions of atmosphere like temperature, pressure, etc. But those errors are observed rarely. But the human errors are instrumental errors or equipment errors are there in most of the cases. What are the human errors? We can note wrong readings, or we can do some other mistakes in withdrawing the solution or filling the burette. These type of errors are human errors. And what are the instrumental errors? We have apparatus here like burette and pipette, isn't it? If burette is leaking, then it is an error. If we proceed or if we do the experiment with the same burette, naturally the readings will be wrong. When we note down the volume of one of the solution consumed to neutralize the other one, we can note wrong readings. Why? Because the burette is leaking drop by drop. Or sometimes there may be no marking, or it may these numbers are invisible due to continuous use. These are not visible. So these are like. Similarly, pipette. If you take pipette, if the mark is invisible, we may commit mistake or error. Similarly, there may be error in using solution of incorrect concentration. For example, if we are taking 0.02 m solution of HCl, instead of that, if we have added some few drops of HCl in excess, then naturally the concentration is incorrect or wrong. Similarly, we can withdraw solution with pipette 1 or 2 drops or more or less. It is incorrect. Why? If we add 2 extra drops, then we need 2 extra drops of other solution. So we may get error. Okay. Similarly, parallax error. Sometimes what we do, we have to keep the burette in stand, fixing the burette, and sometimes it is above the mark, the reading is above our eyes, or it is at higher level, then we know that note that reading without taking the burette into our hands, we may commit mistake. So that is called parallax error. Similarly, addition of solution even after completion of reaction, it is an error. Why? As I told you just now, we need an indicator, a color substance which indicate the completion of reaction. For example, in the reaction between HCl and NaOH, we can use phenolphthalein, which is pink in one solution and colorless in other. It may be colorless to pink or pink to colorless. For example, if it is pink to colorless, even after changing the color to colorless, if we are adding one or two or more drops, even if we add one or two drops excess, it will be wrong. So the amount added in excess will give you wrong results, or it is an error. Now coming to the standard solution. As I told you just now, a solution of known concentration is called standard solution, such as 1 m solution of HCl, 0.1 N solution of NaOH, N by 10 solution of H2SO4, etc. So all these which I just now I have quoted are standard solutions of different solutes or substances like HCl, H2SO4 and NaOH. Then what is concentration? Exact amount of substance dissolved in the given volume of the solution is called concentration. Now, how to express this concentration? There are different terms like volume percent, weight percent, molarity, molality, normality, mole fraction, etc. All these are different ways to express the concentration of a solution. Generally, we need molarity and normality in the laboratory. We should know what is molarity, what is molality, what is normality, etc. and what are the differences between them. How to know that? If we know the definitions and formulae, we will come to know about that. So let us take first molarity. Then how to define it? It is nothing but the number of moles of a solute per liter. That means if we take the solution, 1 liter solution of a particular solute, if there is 1 mole of it dissolved in that, it is called molarity. If it is 1 mole per liter, it is 1 m. If it is half mole per liter, then it will be 0.5 or half m. And if it is 1 by 10th, that means 0.1 moles are present in solution, then it is called decimolar solution. 1 molar, decimolar, like that. The formula is for molarity, the formula is N by V, where V should be in liters. Its units are moles per liter, number of moles per liter. Therefore, moles per liter, where N stands for number of moles of solute and mole is given as weight of solute divided by molecular weight of solute. Therefore, we come to know that N is equal to W by mW. What is N? Number of moles. What is W? Weight of solute. And mW means molecular weight of solute. Weight divided by molecular weight will give you number of moles, and number of moles per liter is called molarity. Therefore, if you substitute that, we get the new formula. The formula is modified as M is equal to W by mW into 1 by V. W means weight of solute, mW means molecular weight, V is volume in liters. Next is normality. Normality again is a way of expressing the concentration of solution. It is nothing but gram equivalents of solute present in 1 liter of its solution. Means 1 gram equivalent if of a solute is taken and a solution of it is made in water or in a particular solvent, then the total volume of solution should be not more than 1 liter, means it is exactly 1 liter. Then it is called normality. What are gram equivalents? Before that, let us take the formula. N stands for normality and it is equal to W by GEW into 1 by V, where capital N stands for normality of solution, small w is weight of the solute, GEW is gram equivalence of solute, and V is volume of the solution. And again the units are gram equivalents per liter. Now, what is gram equivalent? It is nothing but equivalent weight in grams. Equivalent weight of a solute or a substance in gram is called gram equivalence. Then how to calculate gram equivalent weight? And equivalent weight expressed in grams. First we have to know about equivalent weight. It is nothing but equal to molecular weight divided by the number of charges the ion of a solute have when it is dissolved in water, or its valency. For example, in the case of HCl, when HCl is dissolved in water, we get H plus and Cl minus as ions in its solution or in water, whereas H has one positive charge and Cl minus means one negative charge. Now the equivalent weight of HCl will be molecular weight by N, means N here is 1. Therefore, in the case of HCl, it is equal to molecular weight. Why? Because it is producing uni positive or uni negative ions. Similarly, in the case of NaOH, again, Na plus and OH minus are the ions which we get in solution. So again, for those cases in which uni positive or uni negative ions, we get molecular weight and equivalent weight will be same. Therefore, gram molecular weight will be equal to gram equivalent weight. But it is not same for all the substances or solutes, because every substance will not produce univalent ions. It may be divalent or trivalent like that, or dipositive, dinegative, tripositive, trinegative, etc. Just now I told you two such compounds, sodium carbonate and H2SO4, sulfuric acid. Both produce ions in water which are divalent or dipositive 2H plus in the case of H2SO4 and sulfate 2 minus. Na2 means 2Na plus and carbonate with 2 negative charges. So in those cases, we have to divide the molecular weight by 2 to get equivalent weight. And then the number should be expressed in grams to get the gram equivalent weight. For example, for HCl, molecular weight is 36.5 grams. It is divided by 1 because it is uni positive or uni-negative charge. Therefore, 36.5 grams of HCl is equal to 1 gram equivalent here. Whereas for H2SO4, 98 grams is the molecular weight of H2SO4. When we divide it by 2, it will be 49. Therefore, 49 is the gram equivalent weight for H2SO4. Similarly, in the case of NaOH, NaOH produce uni positive or uni negative ion. 40 grams is gram molecular weight of NaOH. When we divide it by 1, we get 40 grams again. Therefore, the same number is here gram equivalent weight. Means for NaOH, for HCl, etc., gram equivalent weight and gram molecular weight will be same. Whereas for substances like Na2CO3, H2SO4, it will be different. For example, Na2CO3, 106 is the molecular weight of it. If we divide it by 2, we get 53. 53 expressed in grams. 53 grams is the gram equivalent weight of sodium carbonate or Na2CO3. So what will be the number of on the number of charges on the ion that we have to take, and that molecular weight should be divided by that number to get the gram equivalent weight. Now, the third one is molality. It is defined as number of moles of solute per 1000 grams or per kg of solution. Here, instead of volume, we are taking weight of the solution or mass of the solution. We are not taking 1000 ml or 1 liter. We are taking here 1000 gram or kg. Means we are expressing it in grams or in mass of the solution. The formula is small m is equal to small w divided by mw into 1 by v. Here, small m represent molality of the solution, and molality is nothing but the way of expressing the concentration. It gives you the concentration of solution, where W is weight of solute, MW is molecular weight of the same solute, V is volume of solution in grams or in kg. Here, you should remember that the volume of water and mass of water are same. Therefore, we can take it here as V. If it is aqueous solution, if it is not an aqueous solution, then it should be in mass. That means mass of the solution should be written there. You know the density of water is 1, means 1 ml of water is equal to 1 gram of water. So here we can take 1 liter is equal to 1 kg or 1 gram is equal to 1 ml. The second thing here to be noted is why we need molality when we have molarity. What is the need? Because both molarity and normality depends on temperature, whereas molality is independent of temperature. Since molarity is independent of temperature, we prefer molality, whereas molarity and normality depends on temperature. Then what happens? Why we want mass instead of volume? Because we prepare the solution in a particular vessel, and shape of vessel or the volume of vessel depends on temperature. How? If temperature varies, the volume will change. If temperature changes, volume will change. How? Because we know at high temperature, the material expands. At low temperature, it contracts. So the volume will not be same at all temperatures. It will change. Therefore, if we consider molarity or normality, there may be a change due to change in temperature. They depend on temperature. Hence, we prefer molality because it is independent of temperature. Means mass will not change due to change in temperature. Mass is independent of temperature, therefore molality is independent of temperature. So you should remember molality is independent of temperature, therefore we prefer. But in general, when we do an experiment in a short period, for example, a half an hour or a 1 hour experiment is there, and if we note the temperature of our atmosphere, there will be no major change in temperature. Therefore, in general, in laboratories, we prefer molarity and normality only. Why? Because it is easy for us to prepare a molar solution or a normal solution. So both normal solution and molar solution can be prepared easily. Therefore, we prefer it. Why? Because except for water, the gravity or density will not be equal to 1. It will be some other number. Therefore, we have to convert that. All extra burden will be there. So we take in general molarity and normality, or normal solution and molar solution during the reaction in the laboratory. Let us conclude our session here, because we can take in some other